here is Frank Matcham. Okay? Now, we maintain that he should actually have a spotlight on him because nobody ever notices him when he's sitting there, but the powers that be haven't quite got round to that yet. So, everything that you see here is original. The plaster work when the theatre was opened was originally all white, and the blue and white scheme was brought in 82 refurb? Yeah, 1982 refurbishment. But the lighting, the doors, the flooring, everything else is just as it would have been when the theatre opened in 1906. There's a wee story about the floor because in the last refurb, if some of you remember what the theatre was like before that, this was actually carpeted. The whole foyer was carpeted. And when they lifted the carpet in the last refurbishment, they discovered that there were these beautiful black and white Edwardian tiles underneath. So they decided just to clean up all the tiles and take it back to what it had been originally. So, how did the theatre come to be in this particular place? Back in the late 1800s, there were actually several theatres in Aberdeen, and there was one particular one which was owned by a theatre impresario called Robert Arthur. And Robert Arthur decided around the 1890s that he really needed a bigger theatre to put on bigger and better shows than he had the capacity to do. And this bit here was empty. As we've said, that the library was here, St Mark's was here, but there was just a big empty space here. And this was identified as a good place to build his big new theatre, particularly because the way that the land lies and it actually goes right down a slope. So, it had the capacity for a big building. He employed Frank Matcham as his architect, partly because Frank Matcham had done a refurbishment of his existing theatre previously, and he liked his work, and Frank also did complete theatres from scratch. So he was employed to be the architect. A consortium of local businessmen was put together, plans were drawn up, they were submitted, they were refused, they were redrawn, resubmitted, and the second time they passed. There is a story, and we don't know whether it's true or not, that the first time the plans went in, they were accurate, and they actually showed the den burn running right underneath the theatre building, and that was one of the reasons that they were refused, because they didn't want running water underneath a great big building. When the plans were drawn up the second time, somebody had the bright idea of just rerouting the den burn on the plans. But as I say, we don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, plans were passed, building started in 1904, plans were passed in 1901, building started in 1904, and it was finished in 1906. Opened in December 1906, and the first show that was on here was a show called Red Riding Hood. It lasted for 4 hours. It was a very long show. And we've actually got a newspaper cutting somewhere of the police being called to do crowd control outside the theatre on the opening night because everybody in Aberdeen wanted to come to this wonderful new theatre. What happened to Robert Arthur's theatre in the meantime? He sold it. The stipulation was that it could still be used as a theatre, but it wasn't permitted to put on anything that was going to be in direct competition with His Majesty's. And of course it was His Majesty's because, opened in 1906, it was named after King Edward because Queen Victoria had died. Robert Arthur's previous theatre was Her Majesty's Theatre and Opera House. It's actually still there, and it's still a theatre. It has been through various things over the ensuing years. Anybody know what it is? The Tivoli. The Tivoli. So the Tivoli started off life as Her Majesty's Theatre and Opera House back in 1872, I think it was. And it's still there. And if you go into the Tivoli and you look at the interior of the Tivoli, you'll see a real comparison between there and here, because of course the interior was refurbished by Frank Matcham. Now, there's one unusual thing, well several unusual things, but one very unusual thing about HMT, and that is it's one of the very few theatres in the country where you actually come off the street and straight into the most expensive seats in the house. If you think of other theatres that you've been in, if you want to go to the Royal Circle or the Grand Circle or whatever they choose to call it, you normally have to go upstairs. But because of the way that this theatre is built, going down a slope, here you come straight in and through to the dress circle. So take yourselves back to 1906 in your head. It's December, you can imagine it's freezing because all these doors are going to be open to let people in. How did people actually get to the theatre in those days, particularly people with money?
Horse and carriage.
Horses and carriages, well done. So you couldn't have dozens and dozens of horses and carriages all queued up outside the theatre because there just wasn't room. And anyway, there were tram lines and all the rest of it out in the street. So what they did was they had a page boy system. So when the patrons came in, the doorman would give them a ticket, like a cloakroom ticket. And the other half of the cloakroom ticket, he kept. And, no, the other half of the cloakroom ticket went to the carriage driver, what rubbish, sorry. And when they came out at the end of the show, there would be a line of young boys standing sort of along here in uniform. They were the page boys. And they would be given the ticket that the patron had, and it was their job to go and find the carriage with the corresponding number and bring it back to the theatre so that they could be picked up and taken home. Now, we understand that on particularly busy nights in the theatre, the horses and carriages could be parked all the way up to Westbourne Park. So these young lads had quite a job on their hands. They weren't supposed to hitch a lift back, but of course they did, because there were bars on the backs of the carriages. So they would nip back on that carriage, pick up their next ticket and go off and get another carriage and come back. And for that they got 1 penny per carriage. They did. Now it doesn't sound a lot, but in 1906 it was, a lot more than it is today, obviously. And we know that that story is true because when the tours started after the last refurbishment, the page-wise system actually went on until the Donalds bought the theatre in the 1930s. And there was a very elderly gentleman on one of the very early tours who had been a page boy. So he was able to clarify that what we were telling people was actually correct. As I said before, it would have been freezing cold standing at these doors. So one of the doormen thought up the bright idea of keeping his legs warm by wrapping his legs with brown paper and newspaper underneath his trousers. So of course when he walked, he rustled. So his nickname was the Rustler. Okay, I think that's it for here. So if you would like to follow Leslie through the dress circle, and again, please just have a seat wherever you would like.